It's time to talk about Blood Bowl League of Blood Bowl. A lot of things have happened this week. Most notably, we were way over our death quotient. Luckily, that death quotient didn't fall upon me for once. I did pick up my first permanent injury, though. Well, first permanent non-niggling injury. Earth, Wind, and Tires fell very early in the game and lost a point of agility. No skill ups for me. It's the first time in a long time I haven't had a level up. It's kind of sad. I always like progression. But also, it's one of those things where a lot of my team is hitting level 2. And Betty's Machetes is doing the big guy with claw thing and being a pacifist. So these things happen. But still, my team's coming along. I'm pretty happy with everything. I wish I had more. I wish Fridge Too Far had been able to get to level 2 as well. But whatever. Yes, Wire Hangers picked up another point, some more SPP, as did Wolf and Sheep Clothing. So Wolf and Sheep Clothing actually getting pretty close to level 3. And yes, Wire Hangers with a little more focus, a little luck, will be able to hit level 3 as well. Long-term development things, Wigs, and Socks actually creeping up slowly but surely to hit level 4 as well. Either of these guys hit level 4, they'll probably get Mighty Blow just to increase my hitting power. If anyone I need, I might take Tackle as well. But with Frenzy, I feel like I can get away with taking Mighty Blow. We'll see. Maybe we'll get lucky and get some sort of crazy stat upgrade or doubles roll. Doubles would probably almost certainly go to dodge, though, kind of without question, just to keep these guys more on their feet. Yeah, so if Yes Wire Hangers levels up soon, which ideally, fingers crossed, will be in the next few weeks, probably give Yes Wire Hangers Mighty Blow straight. I mean, I probably should take Block, but I don't know. I think Mighty Blow will give me more. We'll see how greedy I am. It's also one of those things where we're more than halfway, well, more than a third of the way through the season at this point. There's still more games left than we've already had, but it's kind of a question of how much development do I really expect Yes Wire Hangers to get. So if I get Block, then I get Mighty Blow, and then I'd probably get Piling On. So we're looking at level 5 at that point. That's probably not going to happen. Albeit Block and Mighty Blow are probably the way to go, but we'll see. Mighty Blow will get me to block faster, would be the other argument. So there's that. And I got Juggernaut too, so whatever. Any other things to worry about? Not really. Actually, Miles of Vials is pretty close to level 3 as well, just one MVP away. I actually have quite a few pieces, one MVP away from hitting a level up. Probably going to get Tackle or Dauntless on these Pitfighter Cultists. They already have Block, which is more than they need, honestly. If any of them hit above level 3, they'll probably get fired. That said, I might give one leader. We'll see. I need a leader kick piece somewhere in here. We'll see where that goes. Game itself, you haven't watched, it's up here. You can watch my perspective or Orville's perspective. First loss of the season. A little sad. I don't know. I could have played a little bit better. I certainly made my share of mistakes, but I think a lot of it was due to first-time blitz, or pre-first turn blitz, taking out a block Pitfighter Cultist, and then my armor behaving far more badly than his did. I got 1 KO and a casualty, and a rock did some damage as well, but first half, I made some mistakes, and I was just so down in players I couldn't really take any kind of advantage. Second half, Orville did a great job of keeping Betty's Machetes in the dirt, and I just wasn't able to stop the elf bullshit from happening. Yeah, 6 passes, as you can see. The elf bullshit was very real this week for Orville. So not a great week for me, only 7 SPP. A fantastic week for Orville, though. 2 casualties, 3 touchdowns, 6 passes, and a VP is a whole bunch of SPP, obviously. We're talking about a grand total of 24, which is a huge number, easily the highest for the week. And yeah, Orville ate 1 death, technically 2 deaths. He made the mistake of apothecarying a loner. He just saw the death, insta-apothecaried it, which we'll talk about that, about apothecary policies as we get further into the week recap. But then his actual lineman ate a rock and died, which is the way this league goes, I guess. So relatively large mistake from Orville there. It's going to cost him some team value and some money long term, which is not something his team needs because Dark Elves are real expensive. But yeah, I got outpunched real hard, and there's just only so much you can do. Anything else? I got 40k, not the best, but I've got all the money I need, essentially. I'm just going to be saving money to replace things. After next week, with a little bit of luck, I'll be able to replace a Bloodthirst or 2 if things go poorly. I might get more Pitfighter Cultists. 14 is probably more people than I need. For the time being, though, my team value is high enough, and I've got enough players. Like, I'm going to have 12 for next week with a player missing. So that's pretty far ahead of most other people in the league so far, with some exceptions we'll talk about as we get through there. But I'm pretty happy with where my team is right now. Let's keep going here. Other matches of the week, we have Zach versus Jessup here. Mixed bag all around. Trying to look too much at this page. We'll talk about the game. Kind of a replay of what happened in week 6, to be perfectly honest. Jessup just ran circles around Zach. Jessup had some key removals early on, and that made things pretty difficult for Zach to really capitalize. Just not a lot that could have been done. You can watch our replay cast of it up here. So Jessup definitely won this game. He won it very hard. He got a fair amount of SPP out of it. 2 casualties, some passes, 3 touchdowns, an MVP. It's a lot of SPP on paper, until you discount the Rat Ogre dying. So what happened here, and this is where I want to talk about Apothecary Policy, is relatively mid-game-ish. The Hogwash Redux died. He got hit, he died. This is unfortunate. Jessup then Apothecaried this, which, not unreasonable, it's a Gutter Runner. But then later in the game, well, the Rat Ogre died. And that's 200k in team value. And that's kind of what I was alluding to earlier with Orville. 0 SPP pieces at this point probably shouldn't get Apothecaried. I mean, if it's a lineman over a Gutter Runner, then yeah, I mean, the Gutter Runner should get priority regardless. Linemen should just die. That's what they're there for. But in Jessup's case especially, and especially in the case of his Rat Ogre, he had so many big rolls there. He had a doubles roll that got him Claw. He was level 3, which is a pretty tall order for a big guy to get, even with a Claw Mighty Blow combo. Fair amount of MVPs there. And the MVP also went to the Rat Ogre, which is more loss of SPP and team value for Jessup. I'd have to go back and check, but I'm pretty sure the SPP generator would have pushed the Rat Ogre closer to level 4, but I could be wrong. I'd have to go, like I said, I'd have to double check. But, and that's true for, like, Balderdash too. 3-5, ridiculous. I mean, he's 170 for a reason. That's, it's 90k of improvements. Malarkey here, Claw and Strength, that's a double and the Strength double. Absolutely massive. Maybe Blarney's pretty important too, just because Stormrunner don't level up, and he is 13 SPP. Gutter Runners level up fast, and that's one of those things where we're at the point of the league where you really have to prioritize who is worth saving, and you have to have that insurance policy in the back pocket. Yes, it could be a factor of you don't want to get to the end of the game with a dead player, and you didn't use your Apothecary, which we'll talk about that in a little bit too, but at the same time, it's better to not use the Apothecary and lose someone that's, albeit more expensive than a lineman, but relatively cheap and will skill up quickly, versus someone very expensive that you can't replace, that has a lot of development and is really crucial to the team. Just walked away with 50k, which is okay. 2 casualties, 2 passes, and 3 touchdowns is still a fair amount of SPP regardless. I mean, it's hard to go wrong with 15 SPP. That's a really happy number. Zach walks away with much more than he usually does, with 13 total, so really good week for Zach, all things considered. This is one of those things where Zach lost the game, but long-term for everybody else won a big league victory. Aside from losing 200k in team value, he also got a level up here on Pocketcock. Balderdash 2 creeps closer to level 4, which we're all dreading the day that happens. Jessup will also have his thrower back. Skaven are great because they can play without the Rat Ogre, but Jesup's playstyle really relied on having his big guy, and like most of us, he enjoyed having the huge guy in there. So that kind of sucks. 2 big missing pieces as well, Gutter Runner and Alignment. Probably the saddest part too is that, and one of the other things maybe people should think about when they're apothecarying things is, with 50k in the bank, next week he probably would be able to replace this Gutter Runner. And 2 Gutter Runners are pretty good already. The team works just fine with 2. 4 is great though. The Rat Ogre, however, is minimum 2 weeks away. Even if he gets 2 fame and rolls a 6, that only puts him at 140, which is not enough to get to the Rat Ogre price. So, or is it? I thought Rat Ogres cost as much as... Rat Ogres cost as much as regular pieces, but I could be wrong. Yeah, they're 150. So yeah, I don't know. That sucks, is the short version, essentially. I feel like I didn't look at Orville's team, so quick do that before we look at Jessup. Orville got 60k, which is great, and 4 level ups, which is not too surprising. He had a bunch of elves that were close. The missing lineman is kind of a problem, though. He's going to be out 2 players for, just 1 player for next week. So have another loner, which is not great, but it's okay. All these guys probably should get dodge. I would have said give kick to one of these guys, but he gave kick to the runner, which I don't like, but whatever. Orville's got his reasons for doing so, and that's fine. Dodge on all these guys is probably what I'd get. Arguments could be getting block or fend on these linemen as well. I don't think fend works as well as it does on, say, like elf classic linemen. Block would certainly help with a hitting war. Blitzer should get dodge, no question, though. I don't know. The way Orville's been playing this team and the way that he's being forced to because the league is so punchy is that maybe dodge would be more helpful. But block adds protection, and the 4 agility lets you dodge on a 2+ anyway. But I don't know. Help him save rerolls, all that fun stuff. Reason I say kick is kind of not what I would get here is because he could have gotten leader, which would have added the reroll. But whatever. He's 10k short is the only sad part about getting blitzer number 3, which should be his next priority. All 4 blitzers is what I would get next, and then he can look at getting either witch elf or an assassin, depending on how fancy he's feeling. As long as he can keep his pieces alive, which so far has been a tough call for a lot of people in this league, he should be okay, though. All right, let's keep going. Back to Zach's team. So only 1 level up for Zach. This zombie, Freddy will just get block, assuming there's no doubles or something fancy. Doubles should get guard, naturally. I mentioned in the replay cast I did with Mark that one of the mummies is going to be out. I got confused because I was looking at Fat Elvis, who is missed next game on the team recap. What I meant to say is White will be missing, which is kind of unfortunate. It matters less against Mark, although the Dean does have dodge. I'm getting ahead of myself on that. Niggling injury on White is also not that great. 8 armor value, as we've seen, is not invincible, and Niggling can easily push that stun into KO, a KO into an injury, which could be very bad. Regeneration helps some of that, though, so in some ways, these two kind of cancel each other out, but still, the added risk range for a KO is a pretty big deal. Adding a 7 to that is a bit of a problem, so that kind of sucks. He's got 110 in the bank. I think he should just keep saving this. He's going to have enough to replace a mummy if something bad happens to a mummy next week. So that would be my my recommendation at this stage. He'll have a full complement of 11 players. I think he once again forgot to hire the free skeleton he would have gotten for murdering somebody. Zach, you got to remember to do it. It's free players. Your team value is low. And then we'd have the joy of seeing bullshit. Oh no, bullshit isn't qualified for Necro. Never mind, he's fine. Got ahead of myself there. I was thinking of the gutter runner that died, which would have let him get a free skeleton. Bullshit would not. Carrying on here. Ignore me. Chris, pulling up an upset against Andrew here for other game of the weeks. You can watch both perspectives up here. Kind of the same though, but still. Could have options. Rolled 60k, which is great. This game was weird. Chris's vampires managed to do enough passing magic for once. They were behaved just long enough to get a touchdown in and keep the ball away from Andrew, and then Chris was able to stall Andrew out and then cage break using the power of hypnotic gaze to keep Andrew from scoring. Absolutely massive game for Chris. He needed a win in a big way. And he got a fair amount of SPP out of it, actually. No injuries, but 2 passes, an MVP, and a touchdown is way more SPP than he's been getting lately. That's 10 total for him. Andrew still hit hard. These things are what he does. Chris's vampires, by the way, as you can see, very poorly behaved. 3 casualties on top of the 2 that Andrew caused. So good job, biters. 2 casualties, a pass, and an MVP. Not great, but 10 is still pretty good. It's cast dwarves. They get SPP by mostly hitting things. Certainly Andrew would like to get in like 13 or so, but I do think Andrew could have played this a little bit better. Maybe you've gotten the tie, but I mean, Chris played very well and got fairly lucky. This is the first time Chris is going to have a full team complement back as well, which is assumably pretty exciting for him. Level up here on Cheery, which is one of the uninjured thralls, which is a bit of a miracle. I'm actually not that far away from hitting level 4 at 17 SPP. Well, I mean, it's 1 over the threshold, but whatever. It's not that far off in the distance. Kick might be the skill to get here. If you want to put on the LOS, Fend would be okay. Fend actually might be a good idea since the thralls definitely get picked on as they should be. And Fend would help keep him clear, help him be available to get bit. Although with a level 3 Thrall, do you really want them getting bit? Other thing Chris could think about doing is getting Sure Hands on Cheery here. That would give him an alternate ball carrier that is not going to get hungry and run away. Chris just needs these vampires to get levels up, though. Lady Margalotta is close. Needs one more throw to get level 2. Sally needs another injury or another touchdown to do it. John, not a vampire at all, is behaving a lot like a vampire and behaving very poorly. Otto also needs one throw, so next game could see Chris hitting level 2 or level 3 on a lot of these pieces. He's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 pieces out of his team 13 are one MVP away from getting a level up, so pretty good odds there. Chris has the question of whether he wants to buy his 10th Thrall. The way Chris has been churning through Thralls, I think he'll probably do that, but it's nice to have the 110 in the bank to replace a vampire. That said, if it's John, not a vampire at all, who really cares, right? Still, another great week for Chris. Got some fan factor as well. I don't know if I mentioned that. He's back up to 7, which is kind of sad because that's where he started, but these things happen. Andrew walked away with 10K, which I think is the worst we've rolled all season. He said that twice so far, which is not great, but Andrew doesn't really need to buy more. He's, next week he'll have enough to replace a blocker if something goes bad, so that's good. Minotaur levels up here, which is absolutely huge. Assuming no doubles roll, in which case you should get block. Guard is probably what I expect. The Minotaur. Juggernaut is the other thing I could see Andrew taking. He's been blitzing with the Minotaur a lot, which makes sense. Wild animal kind of entices you to do so. So Juggernaut would be worth considering, simply because it would let him deal with the other block pieces, let him deal with the wrestle pieces. It's a good skill, as someone who has a lot of Juggernaut on his team can tell you. I don't know. I think guard would probably be the most useful thing. This team needs as much guard as possible. That said, Andrew, a lot like Chris, has a lot of players within one MVP of leveling up. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 pieces. So pretty good chance of getting a level up next week. And that assumes, if Light Corpse here gets an injury and an MVP, it's level 3. Mighty Blow is going to help accelerate Iron back a lot too. So, Andrew's team is getting pretty scary. Andrew's team is churning right along. Carnage Rotten Bull needs to hit level 2 ASAP. Both Centaurs need to get levels as quickly as possible, but they're doing okay. So, not a bad week for Andrew, aside from the lack of money, but again, he doesn't really need to buy anybody, so that's okay. Last match of the week, tie game between Norse and Chaos. Mark walked away with 70K. Hooray for fame. Pretty even game, honestly. Fair amount of removal on both sides, as you can tell, although Mark hit a little bit harder. Greg also sustained a little bit extra with fouling being a big factor in keeping the Minotaur in place for at least a turn. So yeah, great week for Mark. Killed the Beastman. Which, like I said, we're way above our quota for deaths this week. This is our 3rd death of the week. 3 casualties, 1 touchdown MVP. A lot more SPP than Mark's been getting the last couple weeks, and he definitely needs it to restore his pieces to their former glory. 14, really solid number. Greyduck walking away with 1 casualty, a touchdown, and MVP. It's only 10, but it's okay. It's not the best, but it is what it is. I think, I don't know, this game was weird in a lot of ways. They both had pieces out in weird ways, so it kind of got to the point where they were kind of hitting past each other. But I think Mark controlled the second half a little bit harder. He was just able to do a little bit more. No levels up, or no, that's true. Abed, Mark's Superman, broke level 4. Our first level 4 player. Congrats to Mark. Got guard, which will make this team a lot better, honestly. Mark's been going full kill mode, which means guard is delayed quite a bit, which makes sense with this team. But yeah, also picked up enough money to buy runner number 2 finally, which is going to add quite a bit for this team. And the Dean, pretty close to hitting level 3 as well. 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 pieces in MVP range of hitting level up, so that's pretty exciting for Mark. Shouldn't have any missing people next week, so no loners for Mark. That's pretty exciting. Not that loners for Norse are that bad, because they have block already, but still, SPP areas can be problematic. In terms of other things for Mark, he just needs to get levels up on the hitting pieces. Troy's pretty okay with just block, but Mighty Blow would make him better. Needs to get needs to get Pierce up. Pierce and Shirley need a ton of SPP. Honestly, what he might want to do is have the runners act as more blitzing hitting pieces with Dauntless. Not that there's going to be a lot of pieces to be super targeted on just Steam with Dauntless, but it might be beneficial to use the higher mobility of the runners to act as blitzing pieces and then use the Berserkers as ball carriers. I mean, it's the Norse team. You just hit with everybody and anybody at all times. Yeah, Mark's team looking really happy again. Obviously needs more SPP to get him back up to shape, and the Yeti needs to start doing its work, much like Betty's Machetes does, but these things will happen. I also didn't start with my big guy, so it's a little less annoying for me. Let's look at Great X team here. 60k for Great X, which is great. 10 SPP only, but 2 levels up. Level 3 here on Bobcat Plinth, which is great. Presumably Claw will be the chosen skill here that'll make this piece hit a lot harder. Chitelamon got a level up as well here. From what I understand, it is a double. A lot of choices there. Dodge is kind of the key thing to lean towards. Could also get Leap to be extra fancy, because very long legs will make it a 3+ roll. Could just get Jump Up too. Great X really likes Jump Up. Jump Up would also help solve some of the mobility problems this team has. By which I mean they're relatively slower than everybody else, even though we're all kind of hovering around 6. It's easy for this team to get isolated and spread out. If you look at her game against Chris a couple weeks ago, it's a pretty good example of that. I don't know. Great X doing fine, honestly. She needs to buy a couple Beastmen, I think. 1 or 2 is up for debate. I would lean towards buying 2. Got the money for it. Your team value is already going to be pretty high anyway, and 2 pieces would put you to 12 players, which would give her a little bit of leeway in case the sometimes very fragile Beastmen get removed. That said, Steam is getting scary with a whole bunch of pieces in range of hitting level ups. So we got 1, 2, 3 pieces within MVP range, and then everybody else is already level 2 or higher anyway, so that's pretty terrifying. This team is getting a lot of levels kind of all over the place. It's starting to get going in a lot of terrifying ways. 2 Chaos Warriors with block is also going to be a problem. I mean, it might be worth trying to do Vanity Pass farm, depending on how the game goes with Leopard and Lion here. We'll see how that happens, though. So that was a week. Not a great week for my predictions. I think I got 50% right. I was right here, was wrong here, and I was right here. So yeah, 50%. Pretty okay. Let's say a quick perusal of what's going to happen next week. We've got, oh god, Zach versus Andrew. I think Andrew's going to take this one away. 1440, assuming normal rolls on the Minotaur, versus 1190. Yeah, nothing pending there. So a fair amount of things going Zach's way. We're looking at 250. Might be worthwhile getting an Igor. Wizard Igor would be pretty good. Could certainly get more rerolls, but he's already got 4. I don't think he needs more, as we talked about in the replay cast. I think Andrew's got the pretty big advantage here. The Undead team isn't that much faster than this team, and this team is now hitting really hard. Minotaur can deal with the mummies pretty handily as well. I think Andrew should be able to win this game, no problem. Scoring is probably going to be low. It's possible this is going to be a tie game. But last time they played, Andrew won and did a lot of damage to Zach's team. I'm expecting something similar here. Hopefully Zach, I mean, I'm saying this, I hope Zach wins because he hasn't gotten a win yet, but I just don't see it happening. 250 is also in range of getting a star player mummy, which might be worth considering because I'm pretty sure the star player mummy is really good. At least has 6 strength, which is never bad. Trying to remember what it has. I think it's got wrestle, which is kind of weird. I could be totally wrong though. It's like Ramtut the Third or something. He could be like 300 or something. I think he's under 2. I don't know. I'm bad at star players. I never use them because that's just how it is. Let's look at the other here. We've got Chaos versus Dark Elf. Let's look at inducements here. Orville's got 4 level ups and a pending loner. So we've got 150 more in team value, assuming normal skill ups here. So we got 1310 for team value, and then Greyduck, we're at 13, this is a doubles roll, 1360, so 50k to Orville. Babe's never bad. We'll see. Orville's getting his throwing game on, and he'll have his runner back. I don't know. This team hits really hard and it's got a lot of force strength. We'll see what happens. I mean, last time they played, it was a 2-0 win for Grey Duck here. I don't know. I think Grey Duck's got the power to just punch a lot harder than I did. She's certainly got more strength than I do, and that's a big deal. I don't know. I'm going to give this Grey Duck. I think it'll be a close game, but I think Grey Duck will probably squeak out the win here. We've got Norse versus Skaven now. Mark's at 1380. Jessup now with his much reduced roster. Where are we? We'll be at, this is a doubles roll from what I remember, so 1170, so another 250. Lots of things we can get there. Wizard, Apo might be a good idea. Am I doing my math right? I thought it was much lower than that. Either way, if we're sure getting an Apo, we will see. If Mark's pieces are very cooperative, this could turn into a punching fest. Last time they played, Jessup went to town on him. A big part of that, though, was the Rat Ogre. I thought the Rat Ogre, Mark way outforces this Skaven squad. So we'll see what happens here. The Fend will definitely be annoying to deal with, as it was last time. Gutter Runners are both going to be, have a blodge, well, fall appearance, Gutter Runner probably, from what Jessup was telling me, which would be kind of annoying to deal with. So the Gutter Runners are probably a big deal. If the throwing game is real, Mark could easily get outscored. But this might be one of those games where Mark just focuses on getting injury SPP and worries a little bit less on scoring, which is not bad for league development, which is kind of the most important thing anyway. So we'll see. I think Jessup can definitely pull out the win, but it might be a pretty karmic victory like last week was. And then we've got me versus Chris here. Was surprisingly hard for me to deal with all these vampires, and Betty's Machetes was not feeling very cooperative. We'll see what happens with if Chris buys more thralls or not. 1370 with a normal, so 1390, assuming Chris doesn't buy anybody. Giving him 130. So, I don't know if he buys somebody or not. 130 will let him get a bonus apothecary, more rerolls, bribes, all that fun stuff. Last time I beat him 3-0. I think I can still win. I can definitely outforce this squad pretty easily if my hitting works better than it did this week. I should be able to pull out the win. But we'll see. Chris's luck seems to be turning around, and my luck seems to be going less great. Anything could happen here, but I'm going to say I'm going to win just for funs. Quick look at rankings because these are starting to matter. Great comfortably at first, me in second, a little bit less comfortably with my loss here. Just racking up to 5 wins is right up here with us now. Mark sitting at 4th, and then pretty close here between 5th and 8th here. So this could see a lot of movement and really decide who's in which group, since we're doing the 1, 4, 5, 8, 2, 3, 6, 7 split again. We'll see what happens. Hall of Fame, quick perusal here. Most experienced player, congrats to Abed for holding on to this spot. Lots of people getting really close to level 4. It was great. Best scorer, Baldash, finally claims the top spot here with number 5. Not too surprising to see a Skaven player on that list. Best throwing, no big changes here, despite Orwell throwing a lot. He mostly threw with a lot of random elves. That was good for him. No new interceptions. Most violent player, Abed, up to 11, ahead by a lot. 4 over Smiley here. I mean, that's 8 SVP worth of hits. That's a big deal. Best running, the Dean, still way ahead of Ocelot Atlas here. And Balderdash 2, despite getting a lot of touchdowns, has been running not very far to do them, so that's cool. It's funny to see the Dean at the top of the list. Go Norse. Best throwing, for in terms of yards, still Orville's runner. Not too surprising there. Survivor, it means nothing still, but God, we'll see what happens. Best killer, we've got 8 here. So we're kind of up to, numbers-wise, it looks like we're good. But we've had way more kills than this, which is terrifying. Best year Balderdash 2, lots of passing around there, so cool beans for Jessup. All right, we're getting, season's starting to get scary. I described it as being very volatile to a couple people here because all the teams are kind of clustering around that 1,200 to, well, in my case, 1,600 team value. So everybody's got a fair amount of development now. I mean, that's going to happen with, even with people losing it, 40 SPP just an MVP alone. So league's getting interesting. League's getting weird. We'll see what happens. Thanks for watching, everybody. I'll see you later.